You're stuck again. You have a really important piece of work you need to do. Maybe a set of slides that show your work on a project you're proud of. Your nearly blank presentation has been open on your laptop for 3 days. You know it needs to get done. You want to do it. It will benefit you more than anyone else. And yet still, for some reason, you just can't bring your attention to it. Somehow everything else is getting done around it. Your emails are read. You've cleaned and organized your desk. You plan the rest of the week to the nth detail. I've been in this situation many times. The pattern is frustrating at best and can sometimes stir up feelings of shame and low self-worth. And what's counterintuitive about having a so-called deficit of attention is that instead of focusing on that important thing you actually want to get done, you might spend the next 4 hours immersed in something else with the same level of focus you wish you had for that important task. That's not a deficit of attention. Attention definitely wasn't absent during those 4 hours you just spent doing something you're excited about or interested in. But it is unregulated. With ADHD, our attention is drawn like a magnet to what is interesting or urgent or vibrant in that moment. We value what is important, but sometimes importance is a tomorrow problem. In my last video, I laid out a map of the different regions where capable minds tend to get stuck. Attention and motivation, working memory, execution, and the world around us. This first region is really two halves: where your attention goes and what gets you started in the first place. Today we're on the first half, attention. We'll come back to the starting problem later in the series, which we'll wrap with signature strengths. You know that feeling when you're trying to read a book, but your mind starts to wander to other things? Or you're trying to pay attention in a Zoom, but you lose yourself in one of the tabs on your screen? Everyone's attention is a function of two systems: top-down, which is where you choose to focus, and bottoms-up, your response to sensory or other stimuli like your wandering thoughts. In ADHD, evidence has showed that there can be struggles to regulate that top-down attentional system. The result may be that all of the other stuff, bright shiny objects, including our own daydreams, can command our attention at the expense of what we want to do. Overriding that to stay with an important task requires real effort and mental energy. This is the classic ADHD struggle. How do we make ourselves stay on task? But what if this is the wrong question? Maybe what's actually useful and productive is noticing on what and in what context we naturally focus. Rather than trying to force ourselves to somehow summon enough willpower to draft those slides or finish that chapter, what if you notice what your attention is actually drawn towards? What happens in those times when you hyper-focus, when you lose yourself in your work and find it difficult to stop because you are in flow and connected? What does that feel like? What are you working on? Content, context, patterns. Learning where and in what situations our attention is magnetically drawn is valuable information you'll use as a kind of map that you can build strategies around to help you optimize for your specific brain. The opposite can come at a real cost if, instead of using these moments where we're distracted or lose the thread as valuable input into how our minds actually work, we keep score of how disappointed we are and use it as fuel for more negative judgment about ourselves. The weight of all those moments of self-judgment and criticism becomes the pattern we see, and we see ourselves through a lens of shame. Negative emotions are also really salient, and unfortunately, they can draw us in with the same magnetic force as the fun stuff. But how does that actually serve you? If you zoom out and take all of this as valuable information about how your mind works, what your attention naturally goes to, that can really shift your perspective and teach you how to optimize and guide the abundance of attention you actually do have. The main idea that I want to leave you with today is that once you notice your patterns and begin to build that map of what your attention is magnetically drawn to, you can then engineer your world to solve for that magnetic pull. One useful intervention, which is one of the better studied tools for this, is pre-committing to a task in advance following something lighter weight. For example, once I walk the dog and finish that first cup of coffee, I will write 3 messy bullet points summarizing what I want to convey in those slides I've been procrastinating. The idea here is to decide on the action ahead of time, sequenced at low stakes with something you're already doing so you're not relying on your willpower in the moment. There's also evidence that a bit of movement first can give your focus a temporary lift, so getting out with the dog would support you as well. Another idea is once you are more aware of how you respond to deadlines and higher stakes, you can borrow that feeling for the current task. Because importance is a tomorrow problem, if you can engineer an immediate deadline for a piece of work, or find a way to bring greater stakes into the current moment, maybe by telling someone you'll report back to them about your progress later in the day, you may be able to effectively make tomorrow's problem today's urgency. Ultimately, these sorts of ideas are best tailored to each person and their unique responses to situations, so it's best to be patient and try things out. But when you stop fighting that magnetic pull and start strategically aiming it, the energy you spent on self-blame can be redirected into outcomes you actually want. It's not always easy or quick, but it's possible. And if you can connect with that hope, you might really begin to open yourself up to new possibilities. If you're interested in learning more about how you can work with your brain, I've put together a 1-page guide to some suggestions you can start trialing today. These are well-known tools that could be worth exploring for yourself. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. And in the next video, we'll discuss the second topic in our series, working memory. See you next time.